It's a Wednesday night, a special Wednesday night. So let me start by saying Barka de Sallah. And from the News Extra crew, it's congratulations to the Muslim Ummah for its successful Ramadan fast. Well, let me also say it's a great pleasure to debut on the program this special Wednesday. Like they say, the young shall grow. Tonight we continue with stories of Eid al-Fitr. We shall also be looking at some success stories of government in the last 4 years, as well as a set agenda for the next level. Something happened in faraway New York, precisely at the headquarters of the United Nations. I can assure you it will make you proud as a Nigerian. We have the usual companion stories of development, security, business, sports, and the weather prospects for Thursday. So sit back and enjoy the ride with me. I am Fatima Umarbuba, and this is News Extra. President Muhammadu Buhari hosts President Nana Akufo-Addo of Ghana this Wednesday. The Ghanaian president, who is on a private visit, arrives at about 3:30 p.m. at the presidential villa in Abuja. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports that the two leaders had private talks for about an hour behind closed doors. President Akufo-Addo, in a brief chat with NTA News, he is in the country to congratulate President Muhammadu Buhari on his re-election for a second term.
It's a very important connection for both our countries. I came first of all to congratulate Mr. President on his re-election and to wish him well for his second term, and then to talk about some bilateral matters.
Also on hand to receive the Ghanaian president are the Chief of Staff, Abakari, and the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Mustafa Lawan Suleiman. And the Emir of Kefi, Alhaji Shehu Chindoya Musa III, has called on Nigerians to use the period of Eid al-Fitr to show love to one another and support President Muhammadu Buhari's next level agenda. This was at the Eid prayer in Nasarawa. Blessing Nufulani reports.
The congregational prayers were conducted in Kefi and Nasarawa local government areas of Nasarawa state peacefully. The clerics admonish Muslims to be steadfast on the lessons of Ramadan and remain peaceful. Emirs of Kefi and Nasarawa enjoin Nigerians to be law-abiding and respect constituted authorities.
All of us must respect the rule of law in the country, because if the rule of law is respected, our leaders will enjoy to work for us.
Pray for Nigeria, and most importantly, pray for our leaders.
Pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will crown our effort.
It was a hitch-free celebration in Nasarawa West. From Kefi, Blessing Namfulani, NTA News.
Muslim faithful in Gombe State have joined their counterparts worldwide to mark this year's Eid al-Fitr. Correspondent Emmanuel Akila reports that Governor Muhammad Yahaya was among the worshippers.
Congregational Eid prayers marked the end of the Ramadan fast. Malam Ali Hamari led the worshippers in the 2 Rakat Eid prayers, with Governor Muhammad Yahaya participating as the executive governor of Gombe State for the first time. Imam Ali Hamari, who read verses of the glorious Quran, admonished Muslims not to forget the lessons of the Ramadan, but imbibe them in their everyday life affairs, charging all faithful to observe the 6 days fasting in the month of Shawwal. Special prayers were offered for the problems of armed banditry, kidnapping and insurgency in some part of the country to come to an end. Governor Yahaya hosted the people at Government House for a lunch, where he gave a Salah message calling for peaceful celebrations. The palace of the Emir of Gombe, Alhaji Abubakar Shehu Abubakar III, was the next center of attraction, where the governor, his deputy, and top government functionaries pay Salah homage on the Emir. After the Emir's message to the people, the horse riders took the arena, and in their colors, took turns to entertain the guests. The celebrations continue with visitations to relations, friends and well-wishers. In Gombe, Emmanuel Akila, NTA News.
Blessed is the hand that giveth. than the one that taketh. Remember the saying? Oh well, Governor Bello Muhammad of Zamfara State must be feeling blessed by now, as he has not only given, but also said his administration has developed a strategy for improving the welfare of orphans and other categories of the less privileged in the state. The governor stated this while hosting a dinner for orphans as part of the Eid al-Fitr celebration. Jamilu Ibrahim will tell us more.
Sharing with the poor and the needy is one of the vital lessons of the Ramadan that ought to be upheld by the Muslims. It is in this spirit that Zamfara State Governor Bello Muhammad organized a special get-together with the inmates of Gusau Orphanage Home as part of the ongoing Eid al-Fitr celebration. The governor, his deputy, and some other top government officials wined and dined along with the orphans in order to give them a sense of belonging in this festive season. Governor Bello, who presented 10,000 naira cash as a Salah gift to each of the 100 orphans in attendance, reiterated his administration's commitment to improving the welfare of all categories of the less privileged in the state. The orphans and their caregivers are full of gratitude to the governor for the honor done to them and prayed Allah to reward him abundantly.
Thank you, Gonu. We are very happy.
He has demonstrated his commitment and he has shown the concern to the orphans. The first thing we want him to do is to construct what we call grown-up children home, so that those that are above 18 years, the males orphans, can be separated.
Well, this honor done to the orphans by the governor did not come as a surprise to many, considering the fact that the Gusau Orphanage Home was his first point of call shortly after he was sworn in, where he pledged to sacrifice half of his monthly salary to secure the future of the orphans. In Gusau, Jamilu Ibrahim, NTA News.
In the meantime, the Zamfara State Governor Bello Muhammad has appealed to the Nigerian army to deploy more troops to identify black spots in the state. The governor made the appeal when he received the Chief of Training and Operations, Major General Lamidi Adioshun. Correspondent Ismail Musa has the details.
Visit like this to troops locations in Zamfara State during festivity is a moral booster. After the 2 rakat prayers, the guest delivered the Chief of Army Staff message to troops of 1 brigade, urging them to be proactive and offensive in dealing with bandits and kidnappers that have truncated socioeconomic activities in parts of the state.
So no foreigner will like us more than we like ourselves. We must be ready to do the needful to finish with these bandits and criminals that are preventing our people from living their normal life.
While receiving the Army Chief in Zamfara State Government House, the State Governor Muhammad Bello promised to complete the ongoing barracks project within the next 100 days and provide the needed logistics to support Army's operations in the state.
We have a major problem in between Wilbenbori to Faru up to Talata Mofara. It's a brand new road that is unaccessible road for now because bandit has already taken over that areas.
The representative of the Chief of Army Staff had lunch with troops. From Gusau, Zamfara State, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
And it was the same story in Katsina State as the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Baba Abubakar, had lunch with officers and airmen involved in the Operation Hadarindaji at the Umaru Musa Air Ado International Airport, Katsina. Bashir Ibrahim Nababa says the Air Chief encouraged the troops to remain gallant and professional.
In his Eid al-Fitr Salah message to the troops, the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Baba Abubakar, represented by the Air Component Commander, Group Captain Ali Hussein Idris, stated that celebrating the troops in the front line, which has become an established tradition, is meant to boost their morale towards enhancing their operational effectiveness. He urged them to operate within the ambit of extant local and international laws while showing compassion and respect for all law-abiding citizens. He took the opportunity of the festive season to remember personnel of the Nigerian Air Force who paid supreme sacrifice in the service to their fatherland and restate commitment to cater for the well-being of their loved ones to ensure that their sacrifices were not in vain.
I therefore enjoin you all to redouble your efforts and engage in security challenges with rugged optimism and renewed determination, while remaining professional in the discharge of your constitutional duty of ensuring the security of our beloved nation and its good people.
The event featured dance competition and presentation of cash prizes to the winners. In Katsina, Bashir Ibrahim Nababa, NTA News.
Now, every society needs strong and effective policing to ensure peaceful coexistence and efficient crime control. In view of this, the Cross River State government has reaffirmed its commitment to synergize with the Nigerian police force to keep crime rate as its lowest. This is not just mere rhetoric, as the state governor, Ben Ayade, has already met with the Assistant Inspector General of Police Zone 6, Musa Kimo, in Calabar, towards achieving this objective. Udwak Etim reports.
For Cross River State to maintain its status as safest and most peaceful in Nigeria, it requires the cooperation of the police force and state governments in the maintenance of peace and security. In respect to some communal crises experienced in part of the state in recent times, the police was commended for quick response, even as the state government promised continuous support for the force to ensure effective policing.
We are committed to ensuring that there is peace and security, and as Cross River statistics shows, it represents 1.1% of total crime in Nigeria. That brings us to the least in terms of crime in this country.
The police force, during its visit to Government House, Calabar, disclosed the existence of a crime prevention, detection and control strategy proven to be successful in most states of the Federation.
All the commands under my watch have launched this popular operation. It is a renaissance of intelligence-driven policy.
The visit was an opportunity for the police force to seek better collaboration with the Cross River State government in ensuring that crime rate is reduced in the state and Nigeria for a better country. In Calabar, Udwak Etam, NTA News.
And still on security, the Nigerian Air Force says its sustained air offensive against remnants of Islamic State of West Africa province fighters on the fringes of Lake Chad has yielded additional results, as the Air Task Force of Operation Lafia Dole has on 5th June destroyed terrorist structures and logistic facilities at Tumbunkayowa in northern Borno State. The Director of Public Relations and Information, Air Commodore Bikule Daramola, says the operation was executed following confirmation by a Nigerian Air Force intelligence surveillance and reconnaissance platform that some terrorists were harbored along with their logistics items and facilities in some structures well camouflaged under dense vegetation within the location. Accordingly, the ATF scrambled 2 Alpha jets to attack the location, recording direct hits on the structures and logistics facilities, which were seen engulfed in flames. Several ISWAP fighters were equally neutralized as a result of the strikes. The NAF, operating in concert with surface forces, says it will sustain the efforts to completely degrade the terrorists in the northeast. And moving on, the Inspector General of Police, Muhammad Adamu, has called for tougher legislations against kidnapping and banditry and possible state seizures of assets linked to illicit proceeds from kidnapping and other heinous crimes. This, the IGP believes, will act as a strong disincentive to potential kidnappers and other violent criminals. This was while addressing a delegation of the Association of Local Governments of Nigeria, ALGON, in Nasarawa State Chapter, who paid him the traditional Salah visit in Abuja. He noted that the call has become necessary against the increasingly daring resort to all forms of crimes by criminal elements in the society. In a statement by the force PRO Frank Mba, the IGP noted that Operation Puff Adder has recorded a great success across the country, stating that since the launch of the operation in April, 63 kidnapped victims were rescued unhurt by police operatives, while 2,175 suspects were arrested aside unprecedented recovery of live ammunition from many states. The IGP appealed to the public to give unalloyed and unwavering support to the force and other security agencies to win the war against crime. Nigeria's permanent representative to UN addresses first press conference after his election as 74th President of the United Nations General Assembly. Details after the break. Don't go away. Good to know you're still with us on News Extra. Nigeria's permanent representative of UN, Professor Tijani Mohammed Bande, is addressing a press conference after his election earlier as the 74th President of the United Nations General Assembly. Let's get details of the election process from correspondent Joy Osiago in New York, as she reports that Professor Bande is the second Nigerian to be elected as PGA, 30 years after General Joe Garba.
A resounding applause for Professor Tijani Mohammed Bande as he is elected to take over the mantle of leadership of the upcoming 74th United Nations General Assembly in September. Professor Bande was elected by acclamation.
Declaro al excelentísimo señor Tijani Mohammed Bande de Nigeria elegido por aclamación presidente de la Asamblea General en su 74º periodo de sesiones.
The implementation of existing mandates and the 2030 Agenda, with particular focus on peace and security, poverty eradication, zero hunger, quality education, climate action and inclusion will constitute the major priority of my presidency. As the United Nations has not met the expectations of its founding fathers in terms of preventing many violent conflicts and mass atrocities, we have to assume collective responsibility to make the world a better, safer, and more peaceful one.
And as a Nigerian and an African, you have invaluable insights into the continent's challenges, such as the Sahel and the Lake Chad Basin, and more broadly, into the challenges our world faces across the three pillars of our work: peace, sustainable development, and human rights.
The delegation from Nigeria and many Nigerian diplomats and some of their colleagues at the United Nations were at the General Assembly Hall to celebrate Nigeria and Africa.
These candidates represent not only just the ECOWAS that has endorsed him, but also the Africa Union and then the continent as a whole that endorsed him. But also it tells you about the clouds, the experience, the knowledge that the candidate himself is going to bring to bear in the work. And you have had the testimonies of all the representatives of the regions, including even the United States of America, that this candidate is the perfect choice, and he's bringing a lot of knowledge and experience to do. So we are happy that this has taken place at this moment.
It's a very important day for Nigeria. When you consider that this is happening with our international relations about 30 years after it first happened with the late General Joseph Garba. So the support for it, the enthusiasm for it at the highest level of government, cannot be measured.
From the United Nations headquarters in New York, Joy Osiago, NTA News.
And millions of Nigerians nationwide are currently benefiting from the different schemes under the federal government's National Social Investment Program, NSIP, which is the largest social welfare scheme in the history of the country. And with the second term of President Buhari's administration tagged Next Level, more Nigerians are expected to come aboard the schemes. 3 years down the line, Olayinka Ojo takes a look at the direct impact of the program on Nigerians.
200,000 crates of eggs, 594 cows, 83 metric tons of fish in 5 days are enough incentives to attract children back to school. This scheme addresses malnutrition, empower local cooks who provide the meals, and farmers where the food is locally sourced from. It is one of the several national social investment programs of the federal government aimed at empowering Nigerians and improving their livelihoods. Others are conditional cash transfer, Empower for unemployed graduates, and the Enterprise Entrepreneurship Program. About 12 million Nigerians have been lifted out of poverty, with more than 1 million poorest households benefiting from the cash transfer program.
We must mention that out of the annual approved budget of 500 billion every year between 2016 and 2018, the total sum of 470 billion has so far been released to the NSIO and expended on the above mentioned program. In 2016, out of 500 billion, we got 79.985 billion. In 2017, we got 140 billion out of 500 billion. And this year, so far, for the 2018 budget, we've got over 250.84 billion.
Apart from supporting the most vulnerable in the society, skilled workforce is being developed for economic productivity by providing jobs for millions of Nigerian youths through the Empower program.
When I came into the department, I was able to know the marking out tools, the cutting tools, and the laying out tools.
The Empower scheme has currently engaged 500,000 youth graduates deployed to provide public health services in teaching, health, agriculture, and tax and monitoring, who get stipends of 30,000 naira monthly.
Anyone who can afford 30,000 a month will be able to buy a home under our new social housing fund scheme.
The story of Dapi Samuel Ali, a visually impaired graduate of special education and rehabilitation science from the University of Jos, justifies the wisdom behind the Empower program.
I serve at the Material Center for the Handicapped as a transcriber of printed books to Braille for blind users.
They empowered me, I empower other people.
Today, I hold my own fish farm.
It has given me a passion to give back.
It is because of such impact on poverty eradication and improving the standard of education in the country that advocacy for sustaining the program in the next level is gaining momentum. But then, the next level JIP scheme is already targeting 10 million Nigerians, while 1 million more Nigerians will be added to the Empower program. With that, more youths like Samuel will have more opportunities of not only being gainfully employed and become self-reliant, but also employers. Olainka Oju, NTA News.
Interesting. In the past 4 years, the federal government has been implementing policies and programs with the sole aim of making the country self-sufficient in food production. The first phase of the journey has been completed, with the country cutting down her food importation bill by about 90%. As the government commences the last lap of the journey, agriculture correspondent Musa Baba Aliu takes a look at the impact of the Anko Borrowers Program on the socio-economic well-being of the people and the nation's gross domestic product.
Fertile land, good climatic condition and quality seeds are what crop production needs to be profitable and promising. Even though Nigeria is endowed with these, but it still imports food to meet the people's demand. 58-year Noma Atli, a rice farmer in Bunza local government area of Kebbi State, is in control of about 10 hectares of fertile land suitable for cultivation of wheat and rice. He says he was limited to cultivating half of the land due to financial constraint. Asked if he had ever approached any financial institution for a loan to expand his production. Banks are not for smallholder farmers, he says. Altine experience is not different from what more than 50 million farmers across the country are experiencing before the introduction of Anko Borrowers scheme. Anko Borrowers is a policy of the central bank and the federal government under the diversification program, providing loan at a single-digit interest to smallholder farmers. The program kicked off with 220 billion naira set aside by the Apex Bank in 2015.
The president is very committed to this, and I'm happy that the state governments themselves are committed to this, and we're all working together to ensure that we're able to feed our people, because that is a major objective that should be in the mind of our people. With the population of this country, there's a lot of opportunity. I know we can only pray that everybody should embrace this program so that in due course we'll be able to feed our people rather than importing food for our people.
At the last count, 200,000 smallholder farmers from 29 states of the Federation are benefiting from the program, with 43.92 billion naira released through the central bank and 13 participating financial institutions to fund the agricultural program. About 862,000 farmers are cultivating about 835,000 hectares of land, planting 16 different commodities including rice, wheat, maize, cotton, soybeans, poultry, cassava and groundnuts.
One, you have to perform your loan obligation under the Anchor Bros program. Before you go into the farm, there's an arrangement for you to actually give those companies the rice they require at the commensurate to the quality of, to the volume of loan they gave you. So you have to, first of all, pay that loan, and then the rest, they pay you back.
Altini Numa, one of the benefiting farmers, said he has expanded his farm now, harvesting 200 to 370 kilograms of rice annually.
By way of coalition, we'll look at the number of farmers, visibly involved in production and our output potential right now. Prior to this time, our output potential was hanging around 2 to 2.5 metric tons, and then that moved up to 3.5 metric tons. With this program and with the training our farmers received, to this moment, we can boast of an average yield potential of 5.5 metric tons per hectare.
Records indicated that 2.5 million direct jobs had been created through the implementation of the Anchor Borrower Scheme as at January this year. Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
And 20 years of uninterrupted democracy in Nigeria has led to an increased citizens' participation that needs to be translated to good governance. More guests have been speaking on Nigeria's democratic experience in the last 20 years on NTA's Good Morning Nigeria. Alika Okwanachi Arua reports.
Since the military returned to the barracks, allowing democracy to take root in the country, guests on Good Morning Nigeria noted that there have been some achievements, but more needs to be done to ensure that Nigerians enjoy the dividends of democracy, which include access to basic education, health, water, and sanitation, among others, which remains a major challenge.
As a nation and as a country, it is 20 years down the line now. We must sit down and look at how do we fashion our own democratic process in line with our own culture and belief. And so also, how do we fashion our economic blueprint or economic process according to our own culture and belief.
If we are to practice physical federalism and then fight the big elephant in the room, which is corruption, the cost of running the government, cost of government and governance is very high, and everybody doing their bit, then we're going to have a better government.
They also stressed the need for a holistic review and enhancements of the democratic processes to ensure inclusiveness, especially women participation in governance.
I think we need to look at the Constitution again, see how we can reduce the powers of states and allow local governments, to also have some powers to independently play roles which would help citizens at that level of government to benefit, from services and from the resources which are nationally generated and devolve to that level of government.
The strengthening of democratic institutions, transparency and accountability were also emphasized as necessary ingredients to democratic growth. In Abuja, Alika Okwanachi Arua, NTA News.
We all know it is already 20 years of unbroken democracy in Nigeria, and the future is becoming brighter by the day for that desired leadership and good governance that Nigerians crave for. Guests on NTA's Tuesday Live program are aware of the view that though a lot still needs to be done, but the present administration is already laying the right foundation that will make Nigeria's democracy an envy in the League of Nations. Doing Dia reports.
Since the attainment of independence in 1960, Nigeria have had to take charge of its own administration through a direct rule. This quest has not been without some ups and downs, as the nation's democracy was often thwarted by the military rule. Its 59 years of independence and Nigeria, being in its fourth republic, has enjoyed an unbroken civil governance. Guests on Tuesday Live critically extrays the trend of leadership since the country's independence, with special consideration on the level of development, all of which are hinged on government policies and social interventions, as well as infrastructural development.
So any country that is able to establish this foundational work is definitely on the path of honor. And we can boldly, like you asked the question, say that we are indeed moving in a positive direction.
We are going to be looking at Nigeria, a higher Nigeria that looks like those days when things were free, we could move around, free. Everybody is everybody's brother. You are from the east, you are from the north, you are from anywhere. Everybody is together.
With the recent swearing-in of President Muhammadu Buhari for his second term in office, guests on the show expressed optimism that Nigerians will fully enjoy the dividends of democracy.
In terms of bridging infrastructural deficits, what we started in terms of provision of jobs, what we started in terms of the economy, which is the economic recovery and growth plan, and all of this will be scaled up at the next level.
In Abuja, Doing Dia, NT News.
In the meantime, Femi Wasi's speakership campaign organization has refuted allegations that House leader Femi Gbajabiamila was at any time convicted for criminal offense in the United States of America. National Assembly correspondent Kenneth Nanim reports that the campaign organization also reaffirmed its conviction that the House leader is the best candidate for the position of Speaker in the 9th National Assembly.
Femi Gbajabiamila has been consulting various political stakeholders, canvassing support to achieving his ambition of becoming the Speaker of the 9th National Assembly. Suddenly, this initiative suffered a setback as a result of allegations of conviction making the rounds. Now, his campaign organization has come out to clarify the matter.
We wish to state once again and emphatically clear that Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila has never been convicted for any crime in the United States of America, Nigeria, or any other country around the world for that matter. The allegations have also been tested and struck out in court of law in Nigeria. The State Bar of Georgia has also written and categorically stated that there is no criminal conviction in the matter relating to Honorable Femi.
The organization is not in doubt that Femi Gbajabiamila and his deputy Idris Wase will participate in the inauguration of the 9th Assembly come 11th of this month and will emerge victorious. Kenneth Nanim, NTA News.
Meanwhile, Imo State Governor Emeka Riot Act to those in possession of government properties and funds. He stated this while declaring open 3-day retreat for elected members of the State Assembly. Sele Osayande reports.
The legislator used the forum to educate the lawmakers on what proper legislation entails. He told the legislators that his administration will not be run on propaganda. Governor Ihedioha, who denounced the proliferation of autonomous communities in the state, but the past administration advised communities still angling for autonomy to share their ambition.
Government drives you. So when you are living, government says, okay, we should give you a car to carry you so that you don't begin to stand on the road because of the position you occupy. But you don't just come and say, I am taking. That is stealing. because it does not belong to you. You are not government. I need to be saying these things for you to understand my actions. I will criminalize anybody who the person can think is wrong. If I wrong, they will catch you.
Meanwhile, the governor embarked on an inspection of erosion-ravaged sites, an NEDC abandoned project. He promised to revisit the project to boost economic activities. From Oguta, Selos and the NTA News.
And this is a News Extra on the NTA. Up next, how Nigeria joins the global community to mark this year's World Environment Day with the theme, Beat Air Pollution. Don't go away. Good to have you back. It's now time for us to join Abolade Salami live in Lagos for business and news. Abolade, it's over to you.
Thank you, Fatima, and welcome to the business news segment. There may be a need for government to review strategy for funding capital projects if the budgetary projection for the 2019 fiscal year are to be realized. This suggestion is coming on the heels of the current volatility in the international oil market.
With a budget benchmark of $60 a barrel to crude oil price and the volatility of oil price at the international market moderating from $72 a barrel to $61 a barrel in recent time, the government needs to evolve strategies that will drive a robust economy and grow the nation's revenue base. The 2.3 million barrel volume of production projected in 2019 budget, if met, will help stimulate growth.
So if the government has to implement its budget, it has to restructure its funding plan. And for me, the first option would be to identify some of these items in the budget, capital expenditure items in the budget, and look at those ones that are economically viable, and bring in private capital to fund them under public-private partnership. Will reduce the cost of doing business in the country, will increase the revenue available to the government, and then the government will be in a better position to meet its obligations, and particularly those critical elements.
On the 60% debt service to revenue, economic players say the headroom provided for borrowing should be looked into in order for the country not to use 100% of its revenue to service debt.
The federal government's zero tolerance for corruption should be leveraged upon by institutions to create a more transparent financial process. President, Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, Mazi Okwadiegbo, said the accounting profession must display integrity at all times.
Corruption over the years has been the bane of development in the country. The achievement of the federal government in tackling corruption will result in building our prosperous nation. President of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, Mazi Okwadiegbo, said the institute will continue to develop strategies in line with government's agenda at curbing the menace.
As a profession and an institute, we will continue to offer constructive advice to all tiers of government in our efforts to promote the culture of professionalism in the management of public resources, thereby facilitating the process of economic growth and development.
Members of the accounting profession appealed to the government and relevant stakeholders to build institutions empowered to control the trend.
That's it on business news. It's back to Fatima in Abuja for the continuation of the news. Good evening.
Well, thank you very much, Abolade. The economy, security and fighting corruption were the key areas the Buhari administration promised to give priority, with diversification from oil being one of the policies to improve the economy. The Central Bank of Nigeria, as a major player in the economy, restricted issuance of Forex for those who trade in 43 items. Joy Uzo in this report x-rays the impact of the policy on the manufacturing sector.
Sector was down on its heels when the Buhari administration assumed in 2015. This was attributed to the harsh operation condition in the country and the mass importation of almost everything, including the ones that can be done locally, consequently making it difficult for local manufacturers to compete with cheap inferior goods imported. To stem the tide and offer Nigerian manufacturers opportunity to remain afloat, the Central Bank of Nigeria restricted accessing forex on rice, cement, textiles, fertilizer, furniture accessories, processed meat, dairy products, and other items. Chijioke Ndudi Uzomba, a manufacturer of furniture products at Idu Industrial Area, has been importing most of its raw materials, which made production costs high. CBN's policy in the last 4 years, he says, has brought succor to local manufacturers like him.
Although the policy is engineered for the betterment of the Nigerian man, I think there is also need for us to also still look at how we can modify it and make it more sustainable for manufacturers like us.
While the policy alone is not a magic wand to address all manufacturing challenges, the CBN notes that it has sustained foreign exchange market stability, ensured efficient utilization of forex, and strengthened local capacity.
In the area of conserving foreign exchange, we introduced a demand management approach in order to conserve our reserves and support domestic production of items that can be produced in Nigeria. In this regard, we analyzed our import bill and encouraged manufacturers to consider local options in sourcing their raw materials by restricting access to foreign exchange on 43 items. 4 of these items alone constitute over 1.1 trillion naira of our import bill. In the area of risk-based supervision, the weakening of the naira following the shift of a more flexible foreign exchange mechanism, along with the exposure of several banks to the oil and gas sector, impacted somewhat on the balance sheet of domestic banks.
The policy, as well as others being implemented to improve the economy, the CBN believes will put Nigeria on the path of growth. I believe that Chijioke, other manufacturers, and even job seekers who have better chances of getting jobs with more local manufacturing firms gaining their feet also share. In Abuja, I'm Joy Uzo, NTA News.
And to environmental matters now, as Nigeria joins the rest of the world to mark World Environment Day with the theme Beat Air Pollution. Environmentalists have used the occasion to highlight areas of focus for the new administration on environmental development for a pollution-free nation. Jennifer Igwe reports.
A United Nations report shows that air pollution accounts for more than 3 times the amount of death from malaria, tuberculosis, and AIDS combined each year. The UN report also shows that 25% of urban air pollution is caused by traffic, 20% by domestic fuel burning, and 15% by industrial activities.
The industries pollute, no doubt. They send emissions out. But what we do with respect to burning waste, what we do with respect to cooking within our houses with poor ventilation, what we do with putting my better past my neighbor generators in our corridors and all that, we are killing ourselves. We are polluting because each of those things generate toxic fumes.
Parents who smoke, I'm going to advise that you please do not smoke. If you have to, it's better you don't smoke in the house, but if you have to, please ensure that your children are not in the same room, because there's secondhand smoke. And secondhand smoke has been known, and we call it that it is even more dangerous at times than smoking.
Environmentalists say air pollution should be one of the strategic areas of focus of the new administration.
Waste burning should be stopped everywhere and anywhere so that we reduce the number of pollutants we release into the air. Then we need to enact what we call the Clean Air Act for Nigeria. We need to be able to have a city precipitants. There are precipitants that will install around the city or around the environment that will precipitate particles in the air so that people can breathe in fresh air.
The challenge of air pollution is such a critical one globally that the theme for the 2019 World Environment Day is centered on it. World Environment Day was established by the United Nations General Assembly in 1972. It is a principal vehicle for encouraging awareness and action for protection of the environment.
Interestingly, something as simple as planting trees in your environment will help improve air quality because trees act as carbon sink and help to mop up dangerous gases and pollutants in the atmosphere. In Lagos, Jennifer Igwe, NTA News.
Well, Jennifer, you've said it all. And one of Nigeria's producers of refreshing beverages, Lacasera Company Limited, is evaluating its operations to complement the world global goal of saving 1 million lives annually through reduction in air pollution as advocacy to beat air pollution heightens. Michael Olale reports.
Analyze air pollution as the greatest environmental risks to human health. Research reveals that outdoor pollution accounts for 4.2 million deaths annually. The Lacasera Company is, however, using this year's World Environment Day to contribute its quota through tree planting because trees take in carbon dioxide and produce oxygen needed for breathing by all. An environmental sanitation was also carried out at the Mile 2 end of the Oshodi-Apapa Expressway in collaboration with the Lagos State Waste Management Agency.
It shows that they are very clean with what they do here, and we are telling the society, people of Lagos State, to really, really appreciate them and to patronize them a great deal.
The Lacasera, with the mandate to achieve zero emission in its production, wants people around the world to consider the health implication of any innovation and treat the environment with care.
We believe that if you cannot add to the quality of air, you don't damage it more. We believe that every human being is entitled to good quality of air. We're obviously going to make certain decisions, certain strategic decisions in terms of acquisition of our machines, the machines we are going to acquire to make sure that, it has minimal impact on the environment.
With its popular brands, Smooth, Bold, Bitter Lemon, and Apple Carbonated Soft Drink, the company is using this campaign to promote healthy environment since 91% of world population reside in places where air quality exceeds World Health Organization guideline limits. In Lagos, Michael Olale, NT News.
And this next report reminds me of that saying that water everywhere, but none to drink. Look around you, so many unoccupied houses, yet a housing deficit of millions of houses is declared in Nigeria. What is responsible for this paradox? Omini Odin researches and ties it to rent. So what are the parameters for pegging house rents in Abuja, the nation's capital? Well, let's find out from Omini.
Business district of Abuja comes alive during weekdays but looks empty at weekends and during public holidays. Reason being, most residents working in the public and private sectors choose to live in adjoining states of Nasarawa, Niger, Kogi, and Kaduna, where they can afford rentable apartments. This development has returned rentable apartments, plazas, and sundry structures to the property market, but the affordability challenge remains. So, what parameters are used to determine rents in Abuja? And the other question is, who regulates them?
You cannot peg rent. You only put a property in the market at a rent. If there is demand for it, it will go. If there is no demand for it, it will stay.
Systems, activities is not solely in the hands of government. Government is public, but we have the factor of the private sector as well. Government cannot do it alone.
For those who can afford, it might be easy in the first instance, but at the expiration of the tenancy, it becomes a huge challenge.
For instance, if you look at this environment, you might see a two-bedroom apartment rented out for a particular amount, and the next compound, the next building will be higher or lower than the other one, and there won't be much difference.
More than half of what they saved goes to the landlords, and they can hardly do anything for themselves.
The high-end structures are unoccupied because those who should occupy them cannot afford the cost. The developers, on the other hand, are stuck with it.
It does not mean that government has not taken steps to ensure that rents or workers' challenge on rents is assuaged, but there seems to be a ring by our investigation. Is this problem not surmountable?
The government should relocate the offices to the satellite towns where the people can afford to pay.
Not ignore the aspect of mortgages as well. You know, if it is not working, it's a reflection of some of the larger problems we've always pointed out.
We must have a workable mortgage run properly by people who know what it is.
With the housing deficit in the neighborhood of 17 million, even when a lot of houses in Abuja are unoccupied due to cost, the way to go is really the solution to this trend. But how soon? In Abuja, Omini Odan, NT News.
Thank you, Omini. And still to come, correspondent on special assignment examines the unity in diversity among Benin people. You wouldn't want to miss that. Please stay tuned. Welcome back. Despite Nigeria's diverse culture and religion, millions of her citizens believe strongly that the country's unity is not negotiable. They live peacefully, enjoying and partaking in each other's practices, seeing the divergence as spice rather than spite. Ogochukwuka Ona reports from Benin, Edo State, as she visits an area in the city and observes how Muslims and non-Muslims observed the Eid al-Fitr celebration.
This is one of the busiest areas in the business districts of Benin, named after a location in the west and populated mostly by Nigerians from the northern parts of the country. Lagos Street is located in the heart of the city, the King's Square, right opposite one of the historic sites in ancient Benin Kingdom, 113-year-old Urokota, a hall for the elders' gathering.
Urokota himself is an ancient name. I was told by my father how it came up. It was being given by our forefathers, that's our four Obas Ogiso. The Urokota, as you can see, is a very important place in Benin where traditional things is being done.
Living here and eking out a living daily are not predominantly the indigenous, but various ethnic groups from the north, east, and west, with a high concentration of Muslims of Yoruba and Hausa extractions.
Apart from the terrorists that have been attacking the country, the unity among us can see from the marriages that are existing between probably the northerner and the southerner, the easterner and the westerner. So with this, I think the unity will still continue to be among us.
It's when you come close to a person, you will know the person's attitude. But when you sight that person from a distance, you may not really know how that person look like. Then you listen to side talk. But when you come closer, you know that we all are one. No matter the tribe, no matter religion, we are one.
In their midst and in the minority are the likes of Imwewahe, Benedion, and Joy Ewowan, Christians who have lived practically all their life on Lagos streets. The indicator of unity in this unique location, as Eid al-Fitr is celebrated, is infectious.
Although what we are hearing from other places that Christians and the Muslims, that they do fight or they are fighting or they were fighting, it doesn't happen like that here. Although even teeth and tongue, they do quarrel, then when something like that happens, we settle it amicably.
So now whether they celebrate, they give you rice.
Yeah, well, you not see cola for my hand just now. They give me rice, they give me money, many things. Now they give me.
We have been together here for the past 15 years now. Some of them have brought food here. As in the Kabiru food, they are bring it to us here. All of us, we are enjoy. They facilitate with you. We do cooperation. Everything we are doing here goes together.
It is Salah celebration today, but Abdulhamid Usman says at Easter and Christmas, he also shares in the turkey meals of his Christian neighbors.
The way their own celebration come, Christmas and New Year, they used to share food to give us and they drink. So we are very good with them.
In this miniature Nigeria called Lagos Street in Benin, though religion, tribe, and tongue may differ, in brotherhood they live daily. In Benin, Ogochuka Ona, NTA News.
Unity in diversity there. And there is this advert that ends with a catchy phrase, "If I don't take care of them, who will?" Well, it's what women leaders from some parts of the world seem to be saying as they converge on Vancouver, Canada, to discuss on women and girls' rights offer solutions to fill the gap on a vast array of issues crucial to gender equality, economic empowerment, education, and gender-based violence. Basi Ita Ikpan reports that 4 world leaders, about 8,000 delegates from 165 countries are attending the conference. Wow, Basi, that should be impactful. So tell us about it.
The Prime Minister of Canada, with 50-50 representation of women in cabinet, to Ghana President, with 20% representation, and the Ethiopian President, herself a woman, yet with cases of early marriage set to dominate the country, and to the Kenyan President, with the campaign promise of equal partnership with women in governance at the conference to give answers to prevailing issues concerning women and girls. Observers say the conference is on the right path to achieving a new dawn for women.
Individuals and interest groups are trying to roll back women's rights. Politicians are giving in to the pressure, shamefully campaigning to undo women's hard-won victories. That's a daunting reality to face. My friends, we are not powerless.
At separate meetings, systems preventing women from reaching leadership roles, the need to translate words into action, the responsibility that comes with power were discussed, and it was an opportunity for a 19-year-old Natasha Nwan from Zimbabwe to say out her concerns about youth, especially girls.
There's no way that you can be making decisions, young people's this, and then all you do is just let them be beneficiaries. We're not going to be beneficiaries, that's not happening anymore.
In a gender equal world, everybody wins. When we invest in girls and women, there's a ripple effect that goes way beyond the eye.
Delegates discuss extensively on how power can drive change for a more gender equal world. From Vancouver in Canada, Basi Taiwan, NT.
In the meantime, pharmacists in Nigeria are appealing to President Muhammadu Buhari to speedily sign into law the Pharmacy Council of Nigeria bill to strengthen action against drug abuse in the country. This was at a forum in Lagos to draw attention to the devastating effects of drug and substance misuse. Joy Ken Agbapoya has details.
Substance abuse, a self-destructive indulgence that leads to significant problems, has taken a different dimension, especially among youths. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime 2018 report reveals that 10.6 million people use cannabis in Nigeria. 4.6 abuse pharmaceutical opioids, while 238,000 are amphetamine users. 1 of every 4 abusers is a female, while teenagers are also said to be neck deep in substance abuse. This disturbing situation is why pharmacists under the Drug and Substance Abuse Committee of the Nigeria Academy of Pharmacy are gathered.
And the trouble with drug is that, yes, it does that thing that you want it to do. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel high. But in the process, it damages your system.
These opioids, why it looks relatively easy to abuse, is because you can get them legally from any pharmacy for various reasons.
Some of the factors leading to drug and substance abuse have been identified as socio-economic and socio-psychological.
Regulate the access to medicines so that those who see medicines as merely items of commerce and commodities for sale will not have access.
We want to passionately appeal to His Excellency, the President, to kindly sign the Pharmacists Council of Nigeria bill into law.
Continuous sensitization through sustainable approach to curbing the menace, these pharmacists say, will help in eliminating the scourge of substance abuse in the society. In Lagos, Joy Ken Abakpoya, NTA News.